There was a time in my life when silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud, filled with thoughts I didn't ask for, scenarios that hadn't happened, conversations I never had, and fears that weren't even real. I couldn't sleep, not because the world was noisy, but because my mind wouldn't stop talking. Have you ever felt that? That moment when your brain feels like a broken radio, stuck between stations, spitting static. You're awake, but you're not here. You're alive, but not really living. That was me. Overthinking was ruining me. Until I did something that changed everything. And no, it wasn't a productivity hack. It wasn't a 5 a.m. miracle routine. It was something ancient, something profound, something rooted in philosophy older than empires. I turned to Stoicism. What is overthinking, really? Let's be clear. Overthinking is not just thinking too much. It's thinking about the wrong things, at the wrong time, in the wrong way. It's planning for storms that may never come. It's reliving wounds that no longer bleed. It's imagining insults no one said. It's replaying the past and fearing the future. All while the present quietly slips through your fingers. And worst of all, it feels productive. You convince yourself you're preparing when really you're just panicking in disguise. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." I used to scoff at that, until I realized most of my problems weren't real. They were rehearsed. Rehearsed so many times in my mind, they became real in my body. Tension, sleepless nights, short tempers, fatigue. I wasn't living. I was managing anxiety I'd created. The Stoic shift. What I did differently. So what changed? I stopped trying to control everything. I stopped chasing certainty. I started asking one question every time my mind spiraled. Is this within my control? That one line, that one mental checkpoint saved my sanity. It's the core of Stoicism. Control what you can, accept what you can't, and know the difference. When I caught myself spiraling, thinking, what if they judge me? Or what if I fail? I'd stop and ask, can I control their thoughts? Can I control my effort? Yes. Then let me focus on what's mine and leave the rest to fate. That simple act, that return to the present moment, was like pulling myself out of a mental storm and into sunlight. When you start living like this, you begin to understand what freedom really is. Not the freedom to do anything, but the freedom from being dragged by everything. How overthinking steals your peace. Overthinking is the art of creating suffering in advance. You think you're being careful. You think you're just preparing. But what you're really doing is building cages out of thoughts. Worrying becomes your identity, and soon even the good moments can't be enjoyed because your mind is already forecasting the next disaster. Seneca said, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." Think about that. How many times have you lived a painful future that never came? How many fake arguments have you replayed in your head? How many dreams have you postponed, not because you failed, but because you feared failure? That's the cost of overthinking. Not just lost peace, but lost potential. Overthinking is hesitation dressed up as wisdom, but hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever will. Practical Stoic tools I now use every day. So let me share with you what helped me heal. The practices that pulled me out of my mind and back into my life. 1. The dichotomy of control. Before reacting, ask, is this within my control? If yes, act with courage. If no, release with grace. 2. Journaling. Write down your fears. Strip them of drama. See them for what they are. Stories, not certainties. 3. Memento mori. Remember you will die. Sounds grim, but it's grounding. It reminds you, life is short. Don't waste it playing movies in your head that don't exist. 4th, voluntary discomfort. Practice facing small fears, cold showers, fasting, silence. These train the mind to face discomfort without panic. 5. Present moment focus, breath work, stillness, nature walks. Stoicism isn't just thought, it's practice. Come back to what you can see, hear, touch. Anchor yourself in now, the ongoing journey. Now, don't get me wrong, I still overthink sometimes, but now I notice it faster. I don't believe every thought. I've become the observer, not the victim. And in that awareness, I find power. Because the goal isn't to silence the mind completely, it's to rule it with reason, not fear. To lead your thoughts instead of being led by them. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. If this message spoke to something deep in you, if you've been stuck in your own thoughts like I once was, then maybe Stoicism is the clarity you've been searching for. Not to become emotionless, but to become unshakable. If you're ready to stop overthinking, to live with calm, purpose, and power, then join me on this journey. Comment below, what's the one thought you catch yourself repeating too often? And if this video gave you something valuable, like it, subscribe, and share it with someone who's struggling in silence. Because you never know, your quiet act of sharing might be the moment that saves someone else's peace.